Hello and welcome to this introduction tutorial on filtering in SharePad. Filtering is the tool in SharePad which allows you to find shares that have certain characteristics. It's a very powerful tool. It allows you to search through the entire universe of instruments which we cover in the program for both financial and technical criteria. So I'm going to show you now how to create a filter. If you press the filter button just above the list that you have open, select the apply filter option. This will open up a little dialog box where you will see the list of filters that you've created in the past, if you have created any, and from which you can then manage your filter. You can delete any of the filters that you don't want. You can copy an existing one, rename, or lock it so no more changes can be applied. In this case, we want to create a new one. So we press the new button and we give it a name. I'm going to be looking for high dividend yield stocks. So I'll call this high yield. If you want, you can also add a description of what you're trying to achieve with this filter. Click on OK and OK again. This will open up a table which will be essentially blank table except for the name of the stock, and it will have a blue Add Criterion button at the top. So we're going to start off with this filter. I want to search for shares that have had good total returns and are predicted to keep on paying good dividends in the future. So if I press Add Criterion, this will open up the dialog box. It is a dialog box which is almost identical to the one that you get when you want to add a column to a list. In fact, basically any column which returns a number can also be used as a criteria in a filter. The search box in the top right allows you to search very quickly for things that you're looking for without having to click on the various tabs. So for example, if I type in yield, it will give me all the options that I can data mine on with the word yield in. In this case, I'm looking for dividend yield. Click on that, and here are the options. So in this case, I've got for which year. So I'm looking for most recent dividend, so the most recent financial year, and I'm looking for the value itself. I click on OK, and the first criterion has been added to my filter. I then set the minimum value for, so I want shares that have paid at least 4% in dividend in the last financial year. I'll also set a maximum of 9%, simply because there are certain shares which have collapsed in price, and simply due to the fact they collapsed in price, their dividend yield has shot up. So I'm going to set a maximum of 9. Now, nothing has changed at the moment. The filter does not recalculate until you press the apply button. Press apply, and now my FTSE 350 list has now got 80 matches. So there are only 80 shares left in the entire FTSE 350. These are all shares that have paid a dividend in the last financial year of between 4 and 9% based on the current close. I can keep on adding criteria by pressing again the Add Criterion button, and now I want to make sure that the forecast dividend is also on the same level. So again, I select dividend yield. This time I select 1 year forecast. Okay, and now I have a second criteria. So first is yield, and now it's forecast yield. I set the same values, a minimum and a maximum. If you don't have to set a minimum and a maximum value. If you do not set a maximum value, then it will search for any share with a forecast yield of at least 4%. no maximum. I press apply again, and now my list has dropped to 59 matches. You'll notice every time you add a criteria, the corresponding column is automatically added to the table, so you can actually see what the yield and forecast yield in this case are. So I can see that Bovis Homes, for example, has paid in the last financial year 4.5% dividend and is forecast to pay 5% dividend for the next financial year. There are no limits to the number of criteria you can add to a single filter. Obviously, the more criteria you add, the more your list is going to shorten. I can keep on adding criteria. For example, I want to make sure that in the last year it has the share has returned a decent amount. So I'll search for total return, price total return, and I can select since date, and I do 1 year ago. So this is the capital return, so it's simply the percentage change of a share price over a year plus all dividends paid within the same period. So I want to make sure that the share has returned in the last financial year at least 10%, so capital plus dividend. No maximum here. I hit apply, and now my FTSE 350 list has dropped down to only 5 shares. Once you've added the criteria, you can quickly see what would happen if you ignored a criterion by simply unchecking it. So if we only look at forecast yield and total return, ignoring historical yield, we can see now we have 14 shares. So you can play around with the criteria without actually having to delete them and add them again. If you want to make changes to the criteria, so for example, if I want to change the total return from 1 year to 18 months, for example, press the edit button. That will allow you to change the criteria to whatever you want. If you decide that you don't actually care about a particular one, press the little dustbin button and that will remove the criterion entirely. Once you've created the filter, it will stay as it is until you make any changes. You can move from one list to the other, and for as long as you have a filter activated, the filter will apply to any list you open up. So I've moved from the FTSE 350 list to the LSE shares list, and now I'm seeing all the shares in the London Stock Exchange that have these characteristics. If you press the button here to the left of a name of a filter, it will hide all the criteria. That's quite useful if you don't have a huge monitor and you have a very big filter with lots of different criteria. The filter will still be active, it's just simply hiding the criteria that you're using. The filter will stay active until you hit the exit button. Once you press the exit button, you will return to the full list. The filter that you've created is now stored within your filter list. So if you go to filter, apply filter, select it, click on OK, the filter will be reapplied exactly as you left it. In the same menu, you will see an extra 2 options in the same filter menu. One is apply quick filter. This essentially works exactly like the apply filter option, but the things that you're looking for, the criteria that you add, aren't automatically saved. So if you want to quickly set up a filter but not necessarily then keep the filter you've created so it doesn't clog up the filter list, you can use apply quick filter. So we can quickly search for, I don't know, market capitalization, for example. And we quickly want to see how many shares on the London Stock Exchange have a market capitalization of above 500 million. We hit apply, and now we can see these the list. We can see there's 430 shares in the London Stock Exchange that have a market cap of above 500 million. If we hit exit, the filter we've just created will be lost. You can decide, if you change your mind, you can hit the keep button, which will open up a save option. You give it a name, this will then be added to your filter list. The last one of the options is apply sector filter. This again is a way of setting up a quick filter so that you only include or exclude certain sectors. So I only want to see the banks on the London Stock Exchange. I choose type sector, includes banks. If I select multiple ones like banks, beverages and chemicals, now the filter will only include chemicals, beverages and banks. If I hit exit, the filter I've created will be lost. One last thing, if you go to the filter dialog box, you'll notice that there's a library button. Press it and it'll open up our online library of pre-built filters. Some of them are based upon investment gurus like Ben Graham, Geraldine Weiss and Jim Slater, and you can use them then as examples or as a base then to build your own. If I download the Ben Graham filter, I select install, Ben Graham will appear here. You'll notice that the Ben Graham filter has a little padlock icon. It means that the filter is currently locked. So if I load it, I can view the results, but I can't make any changes to them. If you'd like to play around with the default values that the Ben Graham filter has, just press the lock unlock button. Now the filter is unlocked, and now you're free to make all the changes you wish. That's all for this tutorial. For more videos, articles and filtering suggestions, visit our website at www.sharepad.co.uk. Thank you for listening and goodbye.